Spoiler warning for the Fontaine Archon Quest and Furina story quest. Now that the Fontaine Archon Quest line has been concluded and Furina's first story quest is also out, time to talk about her story. Let's start from the beginning. There is a prophecy that all of Fontaine will drown. Its people will be dissolved into the primordial waters, and the Hydro Archon will sit alone on her throne. This is the punishment for the original sin of the previous Hydro Archon. The original sin of the previous Hydro Archon was using the primordial waters to turn the oceanids into human mimics. She created humans without the permission of the heavenly principles, which was a grave sin, hence why her people were punished with the prophecy. She has since died in Sumeru, helping defend it against the cataclysm. All that remains of her are in the Amarita pool, so it was the job of the next Hydro Archon to figure out a way to save her people. This is where Furina comes in. Now, I have seen some confusion surrounding Focalors and Furina, and if they are separate people or the same person. They are the same person, just different halves of the same character, but for storytelling's sake, we can refer to them as different characters. Focalors split herself into two sides. The side of her that has all her Archon powers, her divinity basically, and the side of her that is only human, Furina. This side, Furina, will play the whole role of the Hydro Archon, fooling the heavenly principles into believing that there's only one side to her, while Focalors figures out a way to save everyone. Her big plan was to use the Indonimium gathered by the
Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale
to conjure up enough power to kill a god. While that happens, Furina has to keep up the facade that she is the Hydro Archon and cannot tell anyone about Focalor, lest all this hard work be wasted. Furina didn't know what Focalor's actual plan was. She knew she had one, but not the specifics, hence why she had a panic attack when we figured out that she wasn't the Hydro Archon. She thought all her hard work, all her 500 years worth of suffering, was about to be wasted, when that was exactly Focalor's plan. Seeing her panic and beg them to believe her was saddening, it made my heart twitch. Though I did feel bad for her, I also understood why the characters had to be that strict with it. They had to be that. This was their lives we're talking about. They had no other choice. Now, I've heard some arguments on whether or not the way Furina was treated by her people, the other characters, and the Traveler was wrong or not. The argument is focused primarily on how the Traveler treated her during the Archon Quest and Story Quest. But I'll talk about the Story Quest later in the video. I love Furina and how well she was written, but I don't think the Traveler or anyone else was completely in the wrong for the way they treated her in the Archon Quest. Let me use a real-life example to explain myself. Imagine a great catastrophe is about to befall you and everyone around you. Your country was about to be seemingly wiped off the face of existence, and the government decided not to do anything about it. No evacuation, no safety protocols, nothing. All they said were, "We're working on it." No actual proof that they're working on it. Wouldn't you be angry at them for seemingly not doing anything? Let's be honest for 1 second. Would you not be angry or at least scared of what's going to happen to you? Now, obviously, Furina was doing something she couldn't tell anyone about, and I'm not blaming her for how she was treated, but you can't really blame everyone else for how they acted. Their lives and the lives of those they cared about were on the line. Some even already lost their loved ones. Silver and Malus, he will be missed. They can't just be expected to sit back and trust that Furina knows what she's doing, and again, this is what Focalors wanted. If Furina wasn't put on the trial, there is no way for her to be sentenced to death, which means she wouldn't have been killed, which means she wouldn't be able to give Neverlet back his powers, which means Fontaine would have drowned if the people hadn't stood up for themselves. The way they went about getting this information out of her was cruel, sure, but it was at the cost of their lives. And also, that is exactly what Focalor wanted to happen. Everyone was playing right into her hands. There was this other scene where the Traveler asked Furina to tell him, what she knows. And, because he's a witness, all that jazz. And people were upset that the Traveler lied. Or the Traveler manipulated her into saying something. First of all, she wasn't planning on saying anything to begin with. After that scene, where the Traveler was watching her, what happened to her, we saw that she was never planning on telling the Traveler anything. So, even if the Traveler was genuine about being able to help her, and if she told him what was going on, he would help her, it wouldn't have mattered because she wasn't planning on telling him. She was that rigid with her ways, which is a good thing, that's the point. She didn't suffer 500 years just for the Traveler to come in and be like, "I will save you," and just for her to believe him. She wanted to believe him, but she couldn't. She wasn't going to tell anyone anything. We had no other choice but to put her on trial, which again is what Focalors wanted. So everything worked out how they were supposed to work out. So when Focalors died, she relinquished her powers to Neverlet so that he could use his full Hydro Dragon powers to turn Fontainians into real humans so they wouldn't be dissolved by the primordial sea. To the heavenly principles, Fontaine has drowned, and the people have paid the price for their original sin. But I'm pretty sure they were expecting the people of Fontaine to just dissolve. But I don't know if they'll do anything about the fact that one of the sovereigns have gained back their throne. They should know by now. One of the 7 sovereigns, I think. 7? Were there 7 of them? Yeah, one of the 7 sovereigns have gained back their throne. And is Celestia not just gonna sit back and not do anything about it? I'm assuming we won't really see much of Celestia's actions or the Heavenly Principles doing anything until Snezhnaya, which we still have like 2 years to go. I can't wait. That will be so fun. All in all, the Fontaine Archon Quest was a hit. I wasn't expecting it to be this good. I didn't think they could top Sumeru's Archon Quest. But this is just as good, I might even say better than the Sumeru one. They both have their charms, obviously, but I think I might prefer the Fontaine one because of the detective aspect. It was very Ace Attorney-esque, and I liked that about it. It was fun finding all the clues and being on trial and defending people. This has me really excited for Natlan and Snezhnaya. I can't imagine them being better than Fontaine, but that's what I said about Sumeru, and yet here we are. Now moving on to the story quest. This was also a hit. I really liked how Hoiver's approached her story and how some people were still a tad bit upset with her. It seems other than the people of Poisson, everyone else either don't know what happened specifically or respect her for her decision, which makes sense. The people of Poisson watched their loved ones die when the water level rose. They were the only ones to actually suffer any consequences from Furina's actions or lack of actions. So it makes sense they didn't just outright forgive her on the spot, even if they know that what she did is the reason why all of Fontaine survived. To them, they still lost people they cared about. To them, she could have stopped it, but she didn't, and it hurts. Hence why they're still mad. It is understandable. Furina was indirectly responsible for what happened to them to the people of Poisson. Furina was slightly responsible for what happened to the people they love. So they're not just gonna forgive her that easily. And I'm glad Hoiver's didn't just have everyone forgive her. There's still some like arguments, some people who are like, ugh, you know. It's also good writing. The parallels of her experiences and the play of the little Oceanid was well integrated. The slight subtlety of everything made it a fun playthrough. I like that they didn't just have her get over the pain since it's all over now, but they didn't have everyone treating her like some pity party either. She found her purpose again, and though she's not completely over what happened, as she shouldn't be, that was 500 years of suffering, she's still moving on with her life. She's moving forward with her life. We can't possibly see all her development in one story quest, so I hope she continues growing and we continue experiencing her growth. Last thing I want to talk about is how the Traveler treated Furina in the story quest. This has caused some feathers to be ruffled, and in my personal opinion, I don't think the Traveler and Paimon were as rude as some people are making it out to be. Paimon said some slightly mean things, none of which were of ill intent. Furina retaliated and Paimon apologized. They had some back and forth banter, but it was never one-sided. I would understand being upset at Paimon for what she said, but Furina was more than capable of standing up for herself, and when the Traveler overstepped her boundaries, she scolded him and he apologized. It's not like they're bullying her. It's not like they're saying bad things about her and she's just sitting there crying about it. She stood up for herself. She's not a child. She's a full-grown adult that's gone through a lot of things to be where she is now. I'm sure she's fine. And I much prefer this approach than if they made her sad and gloomy in the whole quest and we had to coddle her, or if she just got over everything that happened because the Traveler said, "It's over now, yay." It's not like the Traveler was completely cruel to her. Yes, they said some slightly mean things in the beginning, but it was not to hurt her feelings. The characters are flawed. The Traveler is no exception. And also, I find it really interesting how when the Traveler is all nice and buddy-buddy with everyone, people call them boring, lacking in personality, and all those things. But the moment they do something that players don't agree with, the moment they do anything to prove that they're not a self-insert, like the Child and Yoimiya situation, the Luna situation, and all this, some people get mad about it. There really is no winning. Like, if Hoyo was turned the Traveler into some goody two-shoes that gets along with everyone, people will call them boring. If they give them a personality and have them have disagreements with their favorite characters, people will call them mean. The other argument that I hear is that, oh, but why was the Traveler so nice to Nahida and not Furina? Nahida didn't try to send us to jail the moment we stepped into Sumeru. Nahida didn't accuse Linny and Lynette for committing crimes they did not commit without pretty much zero to no proof. No offense, but Nahida is nicer to us than Furina ever was. I like that Hoyovers didn't just have the Traveler constantly being on Furina's side. It makes sense that they would be nicer to Nahida than they are to Furina, even though technically Furina suffered more than Nahida did. Nahida was also nicer to us. From the very beginning, she was much nicer to us than Furina ever was. And though it is understandable why she is the way she is, it's, the Traveler's not just going to forget what Furina did, and they're not just going to turn into best friends because, oh, you went through something sad, and I feel bad that you went through something sad. They treat her well, and I'm sure we will see a better, more healthy progression of their relationship as the story goes on. And it's just a better, it's better than the Traveler just being friends with her right out the gate. I like the fact that Furina was a tad bit rude to us the first time we met, and the traveler didn't exactly just take it. They retaliated, and then in the end, we saw how much she's been going through, and we pitied her, but we didn't like treat her like a child and just cuddle her. We didn't turn her into some anime girl. She had a personality, she stood up for herself, but at the same time, there's still remnants of the pain she went through, and I think Hoovers did a really good job at showing us all of that. I just think people were a little bit upset because everyone feels bad about what happened to her, so people were a little sensitive about anyone saying anything mean to her. And I like the fact that Hoovers allowed the traveler and Paimon to actually have a conversation with her that isn't just, "Aw, we feel so bad for you, womp womp." It was nice. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Anyways, I'm rambling. I enjoyed the Archon Quest and Furina's story quest, and I can't wait for the second part of her story quest, which, if we follow how summary worked, should be around or during 4.6. Thank you for watching until the end. Subscribe and see you whenever.